Chapter 13 Democratic and Nationalist Revolutions, 17th and 18th centuries. England, the Glorious Revolution. England, like any other country of Europe, was ruled by kings and queens at the beginning of 17th century. All the regions of Britain, England, Wales, Scotland and Ireland had been united by the Tudor dynasty kings. The Tudors refused to accept the authority of the Pope, who was the head of Roman Catholic Church. This was, in a sense, beginning of British nationalism, the idea that the British were a distinct people who should have autonomous of the Pope and Roman Catholic Church. Soon, however, a conflict emerged between the Parliament and the king as to who had the supreme power in the kingdom. In 1603, James I of Stuart dynasty became the King of England. He disputed the powers of Parliament to question him. He believed that the absolute powers of the king were given by God and kings ruled by divine right, and therefore they should not be controlled by the Parliament. He was succeeded by Charles I, who dissolved the Parliament and ruled for 11 years without Parliament. A civil war started between Parliamentary Party and the King's Party, which lasted for 5 years. Ultimately, Charles I was defeated and executed in 1649, and England became republic. And the powers of the king were restricted. Thus, Parliament supremacy was established and paving the way for democracy. All this took place without shedding a drop of blood or firing a single shot. This transformation, therefore, is known as Glorious or Bloodless Revolution. American Independence, 1774 to 1789. England had developed colonies on the eastern coast of North America. 13 states of colonizers had been established there. Most of them were occupied by people from England who had settled in America to cultivate land, run small workshops and conduct trade. The English Parliament assumed powers to make laws for the American states, but the people of those states did not vote for the Parliament. The Parliament often passed laws that favored English traders and factories at the cost of the people of the colonies. The American colonies therefore raised the slogan, "No taxation without representation." The king regarded this as an act of rebellion and declared war in April 1775. The Americans finally won the war in October 1781 with the military assistance of France. French Revolution. In 1774, Louis XVI ascended the throne of France. He was 20 years old and married to the Austrian princess Marie Antoinette. Upon his accession, the new king found an empty treasury. Long years of war had drained the financial resources of France. To meet its regular expenses, such as the cost of maintaining an army, the court, running government offices or universities, the state was forced to increase taxes. At even, this measure would not have sufficed. French society in the 18th century was divided into 3 estates, and only members of the third estate paid taxes. The Society of Estates was part of the feudal system that dated back to the Middle Ages of France before 1789. Peasants were about 90% of the population. However, only a small number of them owned the land they cultivated. About 60% of the land was owned by gentry, the church and other richer members of the third estate. The members of the first 2 estates, that is, the clergy and the aristocracy, enjoyed certain privileges acquired by birth. The most important of those was the exemption from paying taxes to the state. The nobles further enjoyed feudal privileges. The church too extracted its share of taxes called tithes from the peasants, and finally, all members of the third estate had to pay taxes to the state. The burden of financial activities of the state through taxes was borne by the third estate alone. This problem was compounded by failure of crops and increased sufferings of the poor during those years. A growing middle class envisages an end to privileges. In the past, peasants and workers had participated in revolts against increasing taxes and food scarcity. But they lacked the means and programs to carry out full-scale measures that would bring about a change in the social and economic order. This was left to those groups within the Third Estate which had become prosperous and had access to education and new ideas. The 18th century witnessed the emergence of new social groups, collectively termed the middle class. Philosophers such as John Locke and Jean-Jacques Rousseau envisaged a society based on freedom and equal laws and opportunities for all. In his two treatises of government, Locke sought to refute the doctrine of the divine and absolute right of the monarch. Rousseau carried the idea forward, proposing a form of government based on a social contract between people and their representatives. In the spirit of the laws, Montesquieu proposed a division of power within the government between the legislature, the executive and the judiciary. The outbreak of revolution. In France of the old regime, the monarch did not have the power to impose taxes according to his will alone. Rather, he had to call a meeting of estate generals which would then pass his proposal for new taxes. The Estates General was a legislative body to which the three estates sent their representatives. However, the monarch alone could decide when to call meeting of this body. The last time it was done was in 1614. On 5th May 1789, Louis XVI called together an assembly of the Estates General to pass proposals for new taxes. Voting in the Estates General in the past had been conducted according to the principle that each estate had one vote. This time too, Louis XVI has determined to continue the same practice. But the members of the Third Estate demanded that voting now be conducted by the Assembly as a whole, where each member would have one vote. When the king rejected this proposal, members of the Third Estate walked out of the assembly in protest. The representatives of the Third Estate viewed themselves as spokesmen for the whole French nation. On 20th June 1789, they assembled in the hall of an indoor tennis court in the grounds of Versailles. They declared themselves a national assembly and swore not to disperse till they had drafted a constitution for France that would limit the powers of the monarch. While the National Assembly was busy at Versailles drafting a constitution, the rest of France sheathed with turmoil. On 14th July, the agitated crowd stormed and destroyed the Bastille. They looted, hoarded grain and burned down documents containing records of manorial dues. A large number of nobles fled from their homes, many of them migrating to neighboring countries. Faced with the power of his revolting subjects, Louis XVI finally accorded recognition to the National Assembly. France becomes a constitutional monarchy. The National Assembly completed the draft of the Constitution in 1791. Its main object was to limit the powers of the monarch. These powers, instead of being concentrated in the hands of one person, were now separated and assigned to different institutions: the legislature, executive and judiciary. This made France a constitutional monarchy. The Constitution began with a declaration of the rights of man and citizen. Rights such as the right to life, freedom of speech, freedom of opinion, equality before law were established as natural and inalienable rights. The situation in France continued to be tense during the following years. Although Louis XVI had signed the constitution, he entered into secret negotiations with the King of Prussia. Large sections of the population were convinced that the revolution had to be carried further, as the Constitution of 1791 gave political rights only to the richer sections of society. Political clubs became an important rallying point for people who wished to discuss government policies and plan their own forms of action. In the summer of 1792, the Jacobins planned an insurrection of a large number of Parisians who were angered by the short supplies and high prices of food. On the morning of August 10, they stormed the palace of the Tuileries, massacred the king's guards, and held the king himself as hostage for several hours. Later, the assembly voted to imprison the royal family. Elections were held. From then on, all men of 21 years and above, regardless of wealth, got the right to vote. The Reign of Terror. The period from 1793 to 1794 is referred to as the Reign of Terror. Robespierre followed a policy of several control and punishment. All those whom he saw as being enemies of the Republic, ex-nobles and clergy, members of other political parties. Even members of his own party who did not agree with his methods were arrested, imprisoned, and then tried by a revolutionary tribunal. If the court found them guilty, they were guillotined. A directory rules France. The fall of the Jacobin government allowed the wealthier middle classes to seize power. A new constitution was introduced which denied the vote to non-propertied sections of society. It provided for 2 elected legislative councils. These then appointed a directory, an executive made up of 5 members. This was meant as a safeguard against the concentration of power in a one-man executive as under the Jacobins. Women and French Revolution. From the very beginning, women were active participants in the events which brought about so many important changes in French society. They hoped that their involvement would pressurize the revolutionary government to introduce measures to improve their lives. Most women of the Third Estate had to work for a living. They worked as seamstresses or laundresses, sold flowers, fruits, and vegetables at market, or were employed as domestic servants in the houses of prosperous people. Most women did not have access to education or job training. In order to discuss and voice their interests, women started their own political clubs and newspapers. In the early years, the revolutionary government did introduce laws that helped improve the lives of women. Together with the creation of state schools, schooling was made compulsory for all girls. Their fathers could no longer force them into marriage against their will. Women's struggle for equal political rights, however, continued. During the Reign of Terror, the new government issued laws ordering closure of women's clubs and banning their political activities. The example of the political activities of French women during the revolutionary years was kept alive as an inspiring memory. It was finally in 1946 that women in France won the right to vote.
మా వీడియో గనుక మీకు నచ్చినట్లయితే లైక్ చేయండి, షేర్ చేయండి. ఇలాంటి మరిన్ని వీడియోస్ కోసం మా ఛానల్ని సబ్స్క్రైబ్ చేసుకోవడం మాత్రం మర్చిపోకండి. థ్యాంక్ యూ ఫర్ వాచింగ్.